Chicago, Illinois, a city where dreams take shape under the glow of towering skyscrapers and where shadows stretch long in the alleys beneath them. It was here, in the vibrant yet unforgiving streets of the South Side, that Elena Martinez believed she had found the man who would stand by her side forever. But forever was a fragile promise, and soon it would shatter in the most horrific way imaginable. Elena Martinez had always been the kind of woman who believed in love, even when love had not always been kind to her. At 32, she had built a stable life for herself, working as a medical assistant in a busy clinic in Atlanta, Georgia. She was the kind of person who lit up a room with her infectious laughter, someone who found joy in the little things: sunsets after long shifts, quiet coffee shop mornings, and impromptu road trips with her closest friends. But if there was one thing Elena was known for, it was her unwavering faith in people. Some called her naive, others admired her optimism, but no one could deny that she always saw the best in people, even when they didn't deserve it. Elena Martinez never expected that one ordinary Saturday evening would change her life forever. It started like any other weekend. Her best friend, Jasmine, had invited her to a small gathering at a friend's house in downtown Atlanta. At first, Elena wasn't in the mood to go. She had just finished a long shift at the clinic and would have preferred to stay home, curl up with a book, and enjoy a quiet night. But Jasmine was persistent, reminding her that she worked too much and needed to have fun. With a sigh, Elena finally gave in. She slipped into a casual but cute outfit, a pair of fitted jeans and a red off-the-shoulder top. She kept her makeup simple, just a bit of mascara and lip gloss. Looking in the mirror before leaving, she told herself it was just a night out, nothing special. When she arrived at the house, the party was already in full swing. Music played loudly from a speaker in the living room, and the smell of grilled food filled the air. People stood in small groups, chatting, laughing, and enjoying their drinks. Elena stuck close to Jasmine at first, feeling slightly out of place among so many unfamiliar faces. Then she saw him. Darius Walker stood near the backyard patio, holding a drink in one hand and laughing at something one of his friends had said. He was tall, well-built, and had a presence that was hard to ignore. His deep brown skin seemed to glow under the patio lights, and his short black hair was neatly trimmed. But what stood out most was his smile, wide, confident, and effortlessly charming. Darius, 34, was the kind of man who commanded attention without even trying. Tall, broad-shouldered, and always carrying himself with effortless confidence, he made heads turn wherever he went. He worked in construction, putting in long hours under the scorching sun, and had built a reputation as a hard-working man. He wasn't perfect. He had a past. A few run-ins with the law, some mistakes he chalked up to being young and reckless. But he had changed, or so he said. Jasmine must have noticed Elena staring because she nudged her playfully, letting her know who he was. Elena quickly looked away, embarrassed that she had been caught staring. She pretended to be interested in a conversation happening nearby, but she could feel her heart beating a little faster. There was something about him that made it hard to look away. As the night went on, Elena found herself glancing in his direction more than once. Darius seemed to have the same effect on many of the women at the party. He carried himself with an ease that made people gravitate toward him. He was laughing, talking, and making everyone around him feel like they were the most interesting person in the room. After a while, Elena decided to get some fresh air. She stepped outside onto the patio, enjoying the warm summer breeze. The night sky was clear, the stars visible above the rooftops. She was so lost in her thoughts that she didn't hear someone approach until he spoke. Darius had walked up beside her, resting his drink on the railing. He made a comment about the party, something lighthearted and funny, and she found herself laughing before she even realized it. At first, the conversation was casual. They talked about work, life, and little things that didn't mean much, but kept the conversation flowing. Elena learned that Darius worked in construction and that he had been living in Atlanta for most of his life. He told her about his passion for building things with his hands and how he loved seeing a project go from nothing to something real. Elena found herself relaxing as they talked. He had a way of making her feel like she was the only person in the world at that moment. He listened intently, his eyes focused on her as she spoke. Every time she said something, He responded as if her words truly mattered. As the night wore on, the energy of the party started to shift. Some people had left, and others had settled into smaller groups. Elena and Darius were still talking, lost in their own little world. He asked her about her job at the clinic, wanting to know what she loved about it. She explained how much she enjoyed helping people and how rewarding it was to see patients improve over time. Darius seemed impressed, telling her she had a good heart. It was a simple compliment, but the way he said it made something inside her warm. She had been in relationships before, but this felt different. There was an intensity in the way he looked at her, as if he already knew something she didn't. By the time Elena realized how late it was, most of the guests had already left. Jasmine came outside to find her, raising an eyebrow at the sight of Elena and Darius still deep in conversation. Elena hadn't even noticed how much time had passed. Darius didn't ask for her number right away. Instead, he told her he hoped to see her again. There was no rush, no pressure, just a quiet confidence that she would find her way back to him. On the way home, Elena couldn't stop thinking about him. She replayed their conversation in her head, wondering if he had felt the same spark that she did. Something about him made her feel like she had known him forever, even though they had only just met. Over the next few days, she tried not to overthink it. She told herself it was just a conversation, just a nice moment at a party, but deep down she knew it was more than that. A few days later, she received a message from an unknown number. It was Darius. He had asked Jasmine for her number, saying he didn't want to wait too long to talk to her again. Elena smiled as she read the message. Maybe this was just the beginning of something special. The first few months with Darius felt like a dream. He showered Elena with love in ways she had never experienced before. Every morning, he sent her a sweet text before she even got out of bed. Some nights, he surprised her with takeout from her favorite restaurant, remembering exactly how she liked her order. He left handwritten notes in her purse, little reminders that she was the most important person in his world. Darius talked about their future constantly. He spoke about marriage, children, and a home where they would grow old together. He painted a picture so vivid that Elena could see it in her mind. The two of them sitting on the porch on warm summer nights, holding hands as they watched the sunset. She had never felt so loved. Friends and family noticed how happy she was. Jasmine told her she had never seen Elena this way before, glowing with excitement every time she talked about Darius. Her mother was more cautious, reminding Elena that love should feel good, but it should also be stable. Elena brushed off the concerns. Darius wasn't perfect, but who was? Then came the proposal. It happened on a weekend trip to Savannah, Georgia, where they had gone to celebrate Elena's birthday. They walked along the riverfront, the sound of jazz music filling the warm night air. Darius held her hand tightly, stopping near a quiet bench under the streetlights. Before she could process what was happening, he was on one knee, holding out a ring. He told her she was his everything. He told her he couldn't imagine life without her. He said he wanted to be by her side forever. Tears filled Elena's eyes as she said yes. The wedding happened quickly. Darius didn't want a long engagement, saying he didn't see the point in waiting. Elena agreed, thinking it was romantic that he was so eager to call her his wife. They planned a small courthouse wedding in Atlanta, surrounded by close family and friends. On the day of the wedding, Elena stood in front of the mirror in a simple but elegant white dress. She took a deep breath, smoothing her hands over the fabric. She told herself she was about to start the rest of her life with the man she loved. Darius looked at her with so much pride as she walked toward him. He held her hands tightly during the ceremony, his thumb rubbing gentle circles over her skin. His vows were filled with promises of love, loyalty, and forever. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, he kissed her with so much passion that the room erupted in applause. For a moment, everything was perfect. The first red flag appeared quietly, almost unnoticed. Darius started questioning the men she worked with. At first, it seemed like innocent curiosity. If she mentioned a coworker's name, he would casually ask about them. Then the questions became more pointed. He wanted to know why one of them laughed at her joke, why another stood too close when speaking to her. Elena reassured him constantly. She told him he had nothing to worry about, that she only had eyes for him. He would nod, seeming to accept it, but the questions never stopped. Then came the temper. It started with little things. If she didn't respond to his texts quickly enough, he would comment on how she must have been too busy talking to someone else. If she made plans with Jasmine, his mood would shift instantly. Sometimes he would go completely silent, making her feel guilty for wanting to spend time away from him. She convinced herself it was just because he loved her so much. Then the small frustrations turned into something bigger. One night, they went to a friend's housewarming party. Everything was fine until Darius saw her talking to another man. It was a short, harmless conversation, nothing more than polite small talk. But for the rest of the night, Darius barely spoke to her. When they got home, he accused her of embarrassing him. He said she had made a fool of him by laughing at another man's jokes. His voice grew louder, his face tense. Then suddenly, he punched the wall beside her. Elena froze. The room went silent. Then, just as quickly as his anger appeared, it vanished. He sat on the couch, burying his face in his hands. He told her he was sorry. He told her he just loved her too much. He pulled her close and begged her to forgive him. Elena told herself it was a one-time thing, but it wasn't. Over the next few months, Darius's control over her grew stronger. He checked her phone when she wasn't looking. He told her she didn't need to go out with friends so often. He commented on her clothes, saying some outfits were too revealing for a married woman. Elena still saw glimpses of the man she had fallen in love with. He still left her notes sometimes. He still talked about their future. But something had changed. The love that once made her feel cherished now made her feel trapped. She ignored the warning signs for as long as she could, until she couldn't anymore. April 16th, 2022. It was supposed to be just another night. Elena had finished a long shift at the clinic, exhausted and eager to rest. All she wanted was a hot shower and a few hours of sleep. As she climbed the stairs to the small apartment she shared with Darius on West 79th Street in Chicago, she felt relieved to finally be home. But the moment she opened the door, something felt wrong. The apartment was dimly lit, and the air smelled strongly of alcohol. Darius sat in the kitchen, a nearly empty whiskey bottle on the counter, his fingers tapping against it. His expression was unreadable at first, but as soon as he saw her, his eyes darkened. Elena set her bag down cautiously. There had been arguments before, but tonight something felt different. His mood was heavier, his presence more threatening. He started questioning her, his voice laced with anger. He never liked when she worked late shifts, but tonight, his accusations felt more intense. He didn't believe she had just come from work. He was convinced she was lying. Before she could process what was happening, he grabbed a can of lighter fluid from the table. Panic surged through her veins as he moved closer. The sharp smell filled the air as the liquid soaked through her clothes. Her breath caught in her throat. Then, the flick of a lighter. The flame ignited instantly, and within seconds, her world became fire. Heat spread across her body, wrapping around her like a force she couldn't escape. Pain erupted, overwhelming her senses. She screamed, the agony unlike anything she had ever felt. The flames clung to her, devouring her clothes, her skin. Desperation took over. She tore at the burning fabric, her mind focused on one thing: survival. Her feet moved on instinct as she bolted for the door. The cold night air hit her face as she ran, but the pain didn't stop. She didn't know where she was going, only that she had to keep moving. She sprinted down the street, her vision blurring, her breath coming in short, sharp gasps. Neighbors heard her cries, their doors swinging open in shock. Some called out to her, but she didn't stop. Then, in the distance, she saw it. The fire station on South Halsted Street. Her legs nearly gave out as she reached the steps. She collapsed, the last of her strength slipping away. Firefighters rushed outside, their voices urgent, their hands steady as they worked to help her. Water cooled her scorched skin. An ambulance was called, and the world around her faded into a blur of flashing lights and distant sirens. Through the pain, she managed to whisper what had happened. Then, everything went dark. Elena drifted in and out of consciousness as paramedics rushed her to the hospital. The pain never faded, but the world around her felt distant. Voices were muffled, blurred shapes moved in and out of her vision. At the University of Chicago Medical Center, doctors worked quickly to stabilize her. The damage was severe. More than 70% of her body was burned, the injuries deep and life-threatening. She was placed in intensive care, wrapped in bandages, unable to speak. Meanwhile, the search for Darius began. Neighbors who had seen Elena running through the street spoke to the police. The firefighters reported her last words. Officers arrived at her apartment, but Darius was gone. Days passed before he was finally found and arrested. When questioned, he showed no remorse. He described what had happened as if it were nothing more than a heated argument gone too far. Elena fought for her life in the hospital for weeks. She underwent multiple surgeries, with doctors doing everything they could to repair the damage. Her family stayed by her side, praying for a miracle. But some battles are too difficult to win. On May 21st, 2022, Elena passed away, her body unable to recover from the trauma. Her death sent shockwaves through the community. Those who knew her, friends, family, coworkers, were devastated. She had spent her life helping others, yet, in the end, the person she trusted the most had been the one to take everything from her. Darius was charged with her murder. He sat behind bars awaiting trial, but no punishment would ever be enough to undo what he had done. He admitted to setting Elena on fire, detailing the events without emotion. Afterward, he had even called Elena's family, casually telling them what he had done. His words were cold. He acted as if he hadn't truly expected her to die, as if the consequences of his actions had not fully registered in his mind. The judge denied him bail. Prosecutors immediately began building a case for life in prison, pointing to his past incidents of domestic violence and the clear premeditation behind the attack. He had waited for Elena that night. He had bought the lighter fluid. He had made the choice to strike the match. During the trial, friends and family filled the courtroom, many unable to hold back their tears. Elena had been the heart of her community, a woman who had spent her life helping others. Her loss was immeasurable. Her best friend, Jasmine, took the stand, her voice breaking as she spoke about the warning signs. She recalled the time she had begged Elena to leave, the moments when she had sensed that something was wrong but hadn't known how to stop it. She blamed herself, though, deep down. She knew the decision had never been hers to make. Regret and grief echoed through the courtroom. Elena's family described the pain of losing her and the space she had left behind. Her mother spoke about Elena's dreams for her future, dreams that had been stolen in a single night. The jury deliberated for less than 3 hours before returning with a guilty verdict. The evidence was overwhelming. The 911 calls, the witness testimonies, the confession. There was no doubt about what had happened. Darius showed no reaction as the judge read the sentence: life without parole. No chance of freedom, no possibility of redemption. He would spend the rest of his days behind bars, locked away for what he had done. For Elena's loved ones, the verdict brought some measure of justice, but no true relief. Nothing could bring her back. No sentence could undo the pain she had suffered or fill the emptiness left behind by her absence. Her story became a warning, a painful reminder of how quickly love could turn into something dangerous. Her family vowed to keep her memory alive, to speak out against domestic violence, to help others recognize the signs before it was too late. Elena had deserved so much more, and though she was gone, her story would not be forgotten.